Are you ready to change your perspective about life? If so, these next 45 minutes are going to change your entire perspective about your life. It's going to up-level your brain. It's going to change how you view yourself, your life, and the world at large. Welcome to episode 8 of Level Up to Glow Up. Hi, I'm Danielle. Hey, everybody from TikTok. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned for these next 45 minutes. It's going to change your entire life and the perspective that you have about life. I wish I knew this when I was younger. I wish that somebody had told me this and showed me this shift in perspective. It literally has changed my life. So if that's for you, stay tuned. It has been some time. I am so excited to be back. I have to tell you that this sabbatical that I've been taking has been absolutely life-changing and absolutely incredible. I have so much to tell you. Definitely, I highly recommend taking some time to yourself and really questioning your life choices, your life. What does it mean? What's your purpose? Is there even a purpose? Really looking at life differently than you have and questioning every single thing that you've ever been told about literally anything, and really getting in touch with yourself. I know a lot of you have been going through some huge, massive life changes right now. A lot of you have reached out to me separate, as you always have, and probably will do. And this is what I want to kind of talk about today, is changing your perspective and your perception of your life, right? And not just your life, but life in general. I think what I'm coming to find out is that I really enjoy this philosophical thinking about really life in general. And I don't know if you guys taken a philosophy class, and I never did, but I've been learning a whole lot, spending a lot of time reading and a lot of time learning about new things and learning about myself. And I really think that it is imperative that us as a human species learn ourselves, right? Learn a lot about ourselves. And really question, why the hell are we here? Because really what I've figured out is we know nothing about anything, right? Nothing is 100% true. And we'll talk about that moving forward. But let's just get into the nitty gritty of it. Changing that life perspective, right? So I'll give you an example. Like, a lot of you are going to feel like your life is one big disaster. And some of you are going to feel like it's never going to get any better, that you're always going to stay stuck. You're really contemplating why these bad things have happened to you, right? Maybe why you had a terrible upbringing, or why you lost your job, or why you lost a family member or a friend, or why you were in a toxic relationship, right? You're wondering why these things are happening, right? And some of you are going to be in the middle of the spectrum where you're kind of like, well, I'm not in the right spot in my life, right? Like, why am I still not in the right spot? Why don't I not have my life together? Why don't I have this? Why don't I have a house? Why don't I have kids? Why don't I have a family? Blah, blah, blah. And a lot of you I know are questioning, like, who am I? You've reached a point in your life where you're like, am I really happy, right? Am I really happy? Am I content? Do I know myself? Maybe you're questioning about your job, right? Or your relationships. Maybe you're like, am I really happy doing this anymore? And if not, what does that mean? And am I really happy in my marriage or my relationship? Is this really for me anymore? And if it's not, what does that mean? Right? So there's going to be all these questions that are coming up for you. Don't forget, whenever you watch these videos, they come to you at a specific space and time. So whether it's now or a year from now or 10 years from now, it comes to you because you need to hear whatever I have to say, right? It's really your subconscious that is bringing you to me to hear what you need to hear whenever that is. So always keep that in mind. And even if some of this stuff is a hard pill for you to swallow, Always take it in because it's exactly what your subconscious needs to hear. And as some of you jump off the line, I can see that you're like, well, I'm not ready, right? So anyway, if you're watching or listening at any time, just know that this is for you right in this space and time. So as I tune in, I want to use my life always as an example, okay? So again, I don't know anything. None of us know anything, right? But I'm just here to kind of talk about life and what I've come to some realizations through my own experience. And in my life, a lot of bad shit has happened. A lot of shit, right? And a lot of you know about my stories and things like that. So what I've been doing over this time frame is figuring out who I am, right? What makes me happy? What makes me feel content? What's really important in life, and why are we here, right? What is the purpose of this, right? What is the purpose of this? And a lot of it came from this perception that I had about my life, that I'm not in the right place, right? I don't have a real job, right? Like everybody else does, right? Do I want a real job? Do I like the business I had? I was married. Now I'm not, right? I had postpartum depression. I'm a mom now, right? All these things. And what I've realized through this space is that a lot of crazy shit has happened, right? I try to go into this career, try to go into another career, try to go into another career, so on and so forth. And it just seems like my life is just one big mosh posh of shit, right? And I'm sure some of you can relate that, like, maybe you thought you wanted to do this specific job or be with this specific person or have this specific type of life because society tells you that that's what you should do. And you're starting to realize that, like, I don't really know if I like this anymore. I don't really know if this is who I am. So through this lens that I'm now seeing is that I've always kind of thought that life didn't really work out for me. That, I could help people help their life work out, but like my life didn't work out for me. And because I'm going through this life transition, as a lot of you are, it's kind of like you're afraid of what is to come, right? If things didn't work out in the past, well, what does that mean moving forward? Does it mean that everything is going to be a fucking disaster? Right? Moving forward, is that what it means? Does it mean that life is still not going to work out for me because it hasn't? Like, you've been through a lot of shit. Like, you've suffered. You were in fucking pain. Some people don't even know how much pain you have fucking been in, right? It's so intense for you. You're like, I wish I could tell people how much pain I've been in, how much I've struggled, how hard life has been for me. And you probably haven't even told people about this, right? And so you're thinking about this, and every decision that you make after that is kind of like, well, this probably won't work out for me. You are hopeful, like consciously, you're like, yes, this is going to work out for me, this relationship, this job. But subconsciously, you're like, fuck, like life doesn't work out for me. I'm not that person, right? Like, I'm not a lucky person. When you see somebody and you're like, fuck, like, how does their life just like work out, right? Like, they just all of a sudden, have like lots of money, or like always being lucky in a great relationship, having great things. Like, you see these people and you're like, how the fuck do they do this? Like, that's a lucky person. It's like that person that's like in the stands of like a game or whatever. And like, there's like a raffle or something. You got to look under your seat and they like pull at their ticket and they're like, fuck yeah, I won. And they do that over and over and over again. You're like, how is that person so fucking lucky? Like, what the fuck? Right? So anyway, that's your what I see is that I'm constantly looking like, wow, how are these people doing this? Right? And why is my life not like panning out the way that it should, or that I think it should? Right? And I've been thinking about all my struggles and all the crazy shit, right? And kind of where I am right this moment, right? And thinking that things don't work out for me, right? Like, oh God, this business didn't really work out that as well as I had hoped, so many things, right? So anyway, I'm in the car and I'm driving, and it suddenly occurred to me that maybe I've been thinking about this all wrong. Like, maybe, just maybe, right? if I switch my perception and start thinking about it the other way, maybe I'd start to see that things do work out for me, right? And then I'm a lucky bitch, right? Right? So taking from just deep despair, right? If you are like, fuck, life sucks. Like, oh my God, life is hard. Like, life is this. And ask yourself this question. Somebody asked me this. If you were to say life is what? That's really what your perception is, right? So if you think life is hard, like I did, right? Or life is unfair, right? Or life is whatever, fill in the blank of something negative. That's truly how you feel about your life specifically, right? Now, there are some people that will say life is a game. Life is magical. Life is a box of chocolates. Life is chance. Life is fate. So ask yourself a real serious question and don't force the answer. Like if you like were like me and you're like, when someone asked me this, I was like, life's fucking hard. Life sucks. Right? And I'm like, shit, like I believe that, like on a subconscious level, right? Maybe not in my conscious, but subconsciously, I did believe that life was fucking hard and it sucks and it's unfair, right? And so ask yourself that question because that is truly how you feel about your life specifically and everybody else's. Anyway, with that being said, so I said, okay, well, if I think that way, what happens if I thought the other way, right? What if I just took this idea that life was hard or that my life sucks or things didn't work out for me and just shifted my perception, right? Because I was complaining a lot about how things didn't work out for me, right? Whether it was going to school, my job not working out, my book deal not going through, my business not getting off the ground like I wanted it to, becoming a mom, all of that stuff, my mom having cancer, all this stuff, right? Things aren't working out for me. I'm like, fuck, what the hell? So what if I shifted that perception? What if I just said for a moment, maybe everything has worked out for me? Maybe, just maybe. So I started really thinking about this. Now, what's incredible about if you can just do this for a moment is that your brain automatically starts firing information like crazy that every single thing in your life has worked out for you perfectly. Not even just perfectly, like you are fucking magic. That your entire life is just one big blessing after the other. The good, the bad, the ugly, the even worse is all worked out for your highest good and has all led you to today, right? To today, right now. Whether or not you see it that way, it is 100% true. And if you just shift a little bit of your perception of what's happening and how you perceive your life, it will just change. Your brain will go boom. Okay. Now, when I began to look back on my life and all the shitty things that happened, remember I was talking about that book, Everything Happens for a Reason, and to find a gift in things and lessons learned, and all the bad stuff happens for a reason, the good stuff happens for a reason. So all of these kind of dots started connecting for me is that every bad thing that happened to me led me to something better, right? Led me to learn more about myself, find myself, right? So I'm going to give you some examples and how if you just look at your life for a little bit differently, crazy shit happened to you and better circumstances like fell right into place. So before I give you my example, just think about one of yours. I know my aunt was talking about the other day and she didn't realize she was doing it. She had mentioned that her friends that she was a roommate with, right? All of a sudden the one was like, I gotta move out. Oh my God, I gotta move out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Everybody's gotta move out. Literally her friend said, you gotta go. I'm moving out. Everybody's gotta move out. And my aunt was like, of course, totally freaked out and didn't know what to do. She was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. What she didn't see at the time is sort of that this cycle is ending, right? So and I'll talk more about these cycles and transition periods and things like that so that you guys can start to go with the flow of life. But let's just stick with this one example, is that she was like, shit, my life is over. Like, where am I going to go? I don't want to go home, right? She's like, that was the thing I told myself I didn't want to do. I don't want to go home, right? Well, what ended up happening was she had to go home, right? And in this process of going home, she had been in contact with somebody else, right? Like a friend that she hadn't seen in a while. And she started talking about how the situation that she was in, that she didn't know what to do. And out of nowhere, that person said, oh, hey, I know another person who's looking for a roommate. And actually, they're going to this place that's going to open up in a week from now. And sure enough, what ended up happening was that she called that person and got the apartment within the week. So what I'm showing you is that what you think is a disaster at that time ends up being the biggest blessing that you could have ever had for whatever reason, right? So let's say that let's say that she stayed in this household, right? You can't possibly know what would have happened, but let's just say, for example, if she stayed with these roommates, right? Let's say maybe they would have had a falling out or really big fights or something bad would have happened in the house, right? You couldn't possibly know why this all fell apart, right? But all you notice is that it is falling apart, right? And you're trying to hold on to it. You're like, no, I don't want that to go. I don't want this to change. I don't want this to unfold. I want it to stay the same, right? And so you're perceiving it as a complete and utter disaster. Like it is the worst thing that could possibly happen to you, that the universe is against you, that God hates you, that there is no God, that this is just a horrible fucking situation, right? But what you don't see is what is about to happen on the other side, that it is going to be set up so that something even more incredible happens, right? What are the chances that person that you spoke to told you that they were, going to have an apartment with this girl that was going to open in a week from now? And eventually they lived together for a very long time and they had a wonderful friendship and it was a wonderful place, and she ended up meeting her husband there and she ended up meeting other people there and good friends and things like that. So what I'm getting at is that if you just look back on some of those times where something just out of a disaster came a wonderful thing, right? Or a blessing came out of it, right? Or a gift of some sort. So I'll give you an example. With my mom being ill, right? With her stage 4 cancer, right? It's a disaster, right? It's a perceived disaster, like it's a legitimate disaster, right? In my perception as well as yours, like life is ending. Like, how are we dealing? Like, what are we gonna do? Well, what is happening, what's really incredible about what's happening is that my family is getting closer and closer together. Now, I don't mean physically closer, right? I mean more vulnerable, right? More intimate, more loving, more considerate of each other, right? So I'm not saying that we had a terrible family relationship. We probably just have what every family has, right? And because of this disaster, right? Because of the cancer, instead of looking at it as the worst possible thing that could ever happen to a person, if I shift my perspective and see the beauty that's happening right now, right? I think I lost my internet connection. Okay. And the beauty and the lesson that's happening, right? The lesson, the gifts and what's happening. I can now see that although this is a terrible circumstance and it is very devastating, and I will share my emotional turmoil with that, there is a lot of beauty that has come out of this already. Between friends, between family members, it has allowed me to open up to other people more. It has allowed me to express my emotions. It has allowed me to reach out for help and support more than I've ever done. So this disaster that I'm going through is I don't know how it's going to unfold. And we'll talk about surrender. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but if I focus on the beauty that's happening, right? The the gift in this situation? It is that my family is becoming closer together, right? And that I'm opening up more emotionally and being vulnerable with you guys, right? And like, and discovering what is truly important to me, not to you, not to my mom, not to the person down the street. What is truly important to me, right? And if you look at my postpartum depression issue, right, that I had, that was for a very long time. I could not see it as a disaster, as the worst possible thing that could have happened to me. And if I look at it now, I can see the lessons that I learned and the gifts in it, right? I learned more about myself than I ever did, right? I learned what I was capable of. I learned how to run a business, right? I learned to not let fear stand in your way. I learned how to be a mom, how to let go, how to integrate a new identity. So there were a lot of gifts in that situation, and things worked out, right? I wouldn't be where I am right now. So let's look at the whole spectrum of your life. So I want you to just find some time to look at some things that you perceived as a terrible situation or didn't work out. And then try to see what good came out of it, right? What was this thing at the end that was like all by chance, right? Or just happened to work out in your best interest. And I want those of you who had a really terrible childhood to really focus in on what I'm saying right this second. So if you had a bad childhood, and it doesn't have to be super traumatic, but enough that it caused you a lot of pain and you wondered why your parents were the way they were. Maybe they hit you, maybe they beat you, maybe they were verbally abusive or things like that. Maybe you were bullied in school. And you always ask yourself, why did this happen to me? Why did I have such shitty parents? Why did I have such shitty friends? Why did I have such shitty whatever? I want you to see that in that space, this negative consequence or negative situation, rather, circumstance, made you who you are today, which is a fucking incredible human being. If you did not go through this crazy turmoil, right, this crazy situation, you would never have learned how to stand up for yourself, how to set boundaries, how to be self-reliant, right? How to stand up to bullies, right? You would not have learned that. Now, these characteristics and personality traits that you developed based on this, and also some beliefs, right? Positive and negative beliefs you have about yourself and the world, has caused you to be where you are today. I will tell you that the people with the worst childhoods, whether anybody else perceives that or not, the worst childhoods turn out to be some of the most successful and happy and content people in the world. Do you know why? Because they came from hardship. And what they did was they transformed their hardships and focused on what they gained from it. What did they gain? What worked out for them in the long run, right? Some of you who had to go out on your own at an early age because you didn't want to be in the house or things like that, like that propelled you to do things you would have never done if you had a great childhood. These hardships propel you to find yourself, your soul, your authentic self, what you are fucking truly capable of. The most content and happy people in the world see their hardships as something that is a lesson learned, right? A gift, something that they found out about themselves that forced them to do something, to create something, to invent something, to be vulnerable. So these hardships that you are perceiving as that life doesn't work out for you, that life is hard, that life sucks, each scenario that you've been in has led you to be who you are today, which is a fucking badass, right? Which is an incredible fucking human being. Whether you perceive that to be or not, that is the fucking truth. That is the God honest truth. Take everything in your life that happens, even right now, and ask yourself, what am I learning about myself? What lessons are being taught to me? What gifts am I getting from this scenario? And not only right now, but what has worked out for you your entire life? Look at your whole timeline, the entire timeline of your life. From the time you were born to middle school, high school, whatever. Think about all of the people you've interacted with, all of the things that led you to make the decisions that you made, right? You may think that you made wrong decisions, right? You chose the wrong path at a certain time, or you met the wrong people, or ended up in a wrong relationship, or whatever. I want you to see that all of those things happened in perfect timing, happened at the perfect time frame. I'll give you an example. With my ex, I tell myself all the time, I got in this terrible relationship. I kept lying to myself, and I stayed in this, insane relationship. If I did not stay in that relationship for the time that I was in, I would not have met nearly all the people that I have met. If I did not stay with my ex, right, I would have not met people who are now where my son goes to school, right? Who are now my best friends, or who are now people I call for help. I would have never met those people. So as terrible as that relationship was at certain points, there was a lot of stuff that I gained from it. And that led to what's happening right now in my life and how much easier it is right now. So whatever perceived situation that you are in, what's happening is that you are actually, your entire life, you have been pulling people into your life and situations and, terrible traumatic events to help you learn, to bring yourself closer to who you are, to allow yourself to be in the perfect place at the perfect time. So I know this is sort of confusing because I'm having a little bit of, trouble expressing it. It'll get easier for me. But your life is perfect. It is perfect. And if you can look back on it, or even just today, or even as you're listening, just see the beauty in the perfect divine order of it, right? Universal order, flow of it. That everything you've learned, every person you've come in contact with, good or bad, they've taught you something about yourself. They've taught you something about life. They've helped you discover more about yourself. They've put you in touch with the right people at the right time who happen to be your friend or your family member, or, is going through a similar thing at the same time as you. It is truly incredible once you change your perception of how your life is and what life is, and how it works out and doesn't work out. Because what you'll see is that everything has always worked out for you. It's always worked out for you and your highest good, no matter what. Look on each situation that traumatizes you now, that you ruminate over in your head. That why did you do this? Why did this happen to you? How could a God do this to you? Things like that. Look at that situation and just see that happened at the perfect time, perfect place, with the perfect people to teach you something, for you to learn something, right? If we use that life example, life is a game, right? Life is magical, but it's your perception that is not, right? As it was mine. And still in some circumstances, it is, right? But if you can just look for a second and try to see it a different way, it will open up a whole new world for you. And you will see that so many things have happened by chance, and things, when you thought your life was falling apart, something came in and helped you. Whether or not it was what you asked for or not is a totally different story. But everything has always worked out for you, good and bad. And really, it's not good and bad. It's our perception of what is really good and what is really bad. Life is all shades of gray, and we'll talk about that. But change your perception, right? How you perceive the world is really a program. I'm holding my head as a subconscious program. It is a program that's been ingrained in you to perceive that life is hard, to perceive that you've been through a lot, and that life isn't going to work out for you, right? It is a perception. What's really cool is that you can change your perceptions, right? And I will get into a whole bunch of different things that you can do to change it. But this is one of the most eye-opening things that has happened to me, where, thinking from despair and then coming from like, no, fuck. I'm a lucky bitch. Things fucking work out for me, right? And that's what I want you to have. I want you to give yourself the gift that things do work out for you. They always have. They always will. And you, even through the bad, you're learning. You're learning about yourself, about the world, about what makes you happy, about what makes you content, what makes you feel free, what is important to you. Every single thing has helped you grow and evolve as a person. If you got knocked down, if you got beat up, if you went to jail, if you had an addiction, each of those things has taught you something about yourself. And what's really cool is that it's teaching you never to give up. It's teaching you to take care of yourself, to be who you want to be, right? To have your own truth, to stand in your own power. It is teaching you what's important in your life, right? And really what it comes down to is that everything forever will always work out for your highest good, bad, and different. But if you can ask yourself during the bad times, what am I learning about this? What am I learning about myself? What are the lessons here? What are the gifts that are coming out of it right now? Even if it's terrible, what is the gift that's coming out of this? Change your brain, train it to see all areas out of the box, right? Our perception is that we're in a box. We're in a box. We're like, fuck, we're trapped, right? Take yourself out of the box, right? And not only out of the box, but allow the box to move, right? See all the sides of the box, right? You might even find that it's not a box, right? It might be like a tetrahedron or something. I don't fucking know. But if you can pull yourself out for a second of this perceived terrible situation that you are in and be like, what are the lessons that I'm learning? What am I learning about myself? What am I learning about people? What are the gifts in this scenario? What good is coming out of this? Even if it hasn't come out yet, what good could possibly come out of this, right? And if you ask yourself these questions, right, you're going to see that as you keep turning, right, so you're like, fuck, I'm learning a whole lot. Oh shit, I'm growing. What am I learning about myself? Oh my God, I'm learning this. I'm trying this. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Da, da, da. So as you come out of the box, you're going to see what's happening. What are the synchronicities? What are the things that are coming in? Who are the people? You're going to see that people care about you, that they love you, that you love them, that you care about them. You're going to see all of these things happening. And you're also going to see the downside, right? So you're going to see both the good and bad. You're going to see what no longer serves you, who no longer serves you, what situations aren't good for you anymore. And you're going to see the brighter side, right? What is good for you? What is the next step? What are these things, right? So if you are like me at certain points in time and perceive life as crazy, hard, and difficult, and chaotic, and unpredictable, and things like that. Again, I'm going to keep repeating this. I have no idea why, but find that time to really think about life is magical. What are you learning? Life has always worked out for you. Good, bad, and different, right? You've learned what works, what doesn't work, and you're still learning. So what's incredible is if you are going to make a decision now for something, or you're fearful about something happening, or worried that this relationship won't work out, that you'll make the wrong decision again, or that this job won't work out, it'll be the wrong decision again, or something won't work out, or whatever, you'll see that there's no right or wrong decision that you can make. There's no thing to regret. Because every decision that you make, every circumstance, again, no matter how good or bad, it's always going to work out for your highest good. And I don't know if it's a divine plan. I don't know if it's fate. I don't know if it's our subconscious. I really have no fucking idea. All I know is that if you shift this perception, the fear begins to melt away about how your life is going to go. It's like a magic pill that you just took, like the fucking Matrix, right? You're like, let me take this blue pill and let me see it from a different perspective, right? That no matter the decision you make, it will always work out for you. You will always learn something. You will always come closer to who you are. You will always come closer to the right people, the right places, the right things. Things will always work out for you. So really, if everything has always worked out for you, if you see it, only if you see it, you have to do the work and go back and look at your life. And if you come to the realization that even in the hardships, everything has worked out for you, you are lucky. You are magical. Life is magical. Then your perception of what happens forward will change. Your anxieties and your fear is going to change. It doesn't fucking mean they're not going to be there, right? Please don't misunderstand. They're going to fucking be there, right? Your fear is still there. It's still a very real thing. Anxieties are very real. But it will lessen because you will then be able to say, no matter what decision I make, it's going to lead me to something better. It's going to work out for me. I'm going to learn something. Something is going to be great, right? It's going to lead you somewhere magical. So you don't know where you're going. I don't fucking know where I'm going. I have no fucking idea, right? But it's going to lead you to something beautiful. So what you take away from this is totally up to you, right? Only you can decide and say, you could say this bitch is fucking crazy. I have no fucking idea what she's talking about, right? I don't know, right? Nah, she's a liar, da da da. You could say all that, right? And that's your truth. That's okay. Or you could say, hey, maybe I should take 1 minute out of my day and think about this and contemplate how I've been perceiving life, how I've been perceiving my own life. And maybe, just maybe, if I do that, it might change everything. It might change what happens moving forward. It might allow me to feel more content, to feel more supported, to feel happier, to feel excited for life, to find that zest, right? When I was suffering multiple fucking times, right? Postpartum depression, toxic relationship, right? Everything. The biggest thing I kept telling myself was that things were just going to get worse, right? Things weren't going to work out. Life sucks. And do you know what it did for me? It made me feel really bad, right? Really bad about myself. That I made the wrong decisions. I did the wrong things. I talked to the wrong people. I was in all the wrong places at all the wrong fucking times. And it was just terrible, right? And I'm sure some of you can relate. The biggest gift I gave to myself, and I'm going to continue to give to myself, is that the opposite is true as well, right? The opposite is true. I was in the right place at the right time, right? I met the right people at the right time. I did this at the right time. I think that I would much rather have the perception that things always work out for me than the perception that things don't work out for me, right? So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to perceive your life as it sucks? That things don't work out for you, that you'll never get ahead, right? You'll never have that relationship. You'll never feel good again. You'll never heal. Do you want that perception? Really ask yourself that question. Because if you had a choice, which you do, would you choose the opposite? Would you choose to think that things do work out for you? You are a lucky motherfucker. Right? Good things do happen to you. Which perspective would you rather have? Right? The blue pill, the red pill. Someone here's got to watch The Matrix. I don't know what that's about, but which one would you rather? And if you'd rather keep telling yourself that things suck, life fucking sucks, right? If you rather do that, ask yourself why. Why? Because what would it mean if you were wrong this whole time? What would it mean? What would it mean about you, right? Hell, it means nothing. So what? You were wrong. Things do work out for you. Right? So what? Do you know how many things I've been wrong about? Think about how many things you've been wrong about life in general, everything. Right? So what? So you made a mistake. You had a perception that was ingrained in your subconscious. You can change that. You can change that at any time. But it's your decision alone. I can't tell you to make that decision. You have to come to that on your own. You have to be willing to look outside the box. You have to be willing to say, well, maybe I am wrong. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, if I look at all those terrible things that happened to me, shift my perspective, maybe my whole life would change. Maybe if I start looking at things like everything happens for a reason, everything happens for my highest good, life is magical, life is fun, life is a game, right? Life is exciting. Maybe your whole life would change. Maybe you would feel happier. Maybe you'd feel more content. Maybe you'd feel more loved. Maybe you'd become more present. I don't know. Only you can decide what you perceive as true and what you perceive as untrue. Only you can make a decision to see both sides of the spectrum, both sides of life. You decide what is your truth. And given the chance to take the blue pill or the red pill, the question is, which one are you going to choose? Do you want to live thinking that life is horrible? Do you want that? I don't know. Would you rather think that things happen for a reason? Who knows if any of this is even fucking true? Who knows, right? But it's really what goes on in your head. Only you can make that decision. I can't do it for you. Somebody could never tell me what to do, for sure. So I'm with all of you who are like, fuck this. But take some time. See your life from a different perspective. And try it for a day. Try it for an hour. Try it for a week. See what happens. See if you feel a little lighter. See if you start to see things differently. Focus on what it is, who you are right now, how far you've come, how much you've learned about yourself, what you don't put up with anymore, right? Who you don't put up with anymore. What you do now that you thought you would never do, right? all these things were in perfect timing, perfect order, right? It's led you exactly where you are to learn the lessons that you need to learn so that you can grow and evolve, right? We talked about mistakes in another video. So what? You fucked up. What did you learn from it? Okay. All right. So I hope this helps you to change your perspective about your life and life in general. And if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. And I really hope that over the time, these recordings or videos really help you just to see life a little differently. Be open to more ideas, be open to more people, become closer to yourself, closer to whatever you want to call that's out there, source, the field, energy, God, I have no idea what you want to call it, doesn't matter. And that your life does become more magical and you start seeing yourself as a magical person, and that life is a game. It's fun. Yeah, sure, sometimes it fucking sucks. Don't get me wrong. Not trying to sugarcoat life here. But when we shift our perspective, things change, right? Our thoughts change. The way we feel changes. Who we interact changes. I think Carl Jung said something like, your subconscious is what is projected out, what comes true, right? It's like the law of attraction. What's in your subconscious is attracted to you. So imagine if you have all this shit in your subconscious that is negative, right? Things are coming out as negative. You're only going to see negative things. So if you shift your perspective just a little bit, doesn't have to be, 180 overnight, you might start seeing some pretty fun things going on, right? That would be cool. Yeah? All right. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm sending you wonderful, loving vibes. May you have a wonderful day. And I will be back tomorrow. Sending you light and love. Until next time.